All right, next, State of the City budget message.
Here we go. There we go.
Good evening, Mayor Stone, Vice Mayor Garcia, and City Council. It's my privilege tonight to present the State of the City. This State of the City provides annual update to citizens on current fiscal accountability, operations, capital, presents the upcoming municipal budget, which in your packet you have a resolution 2258, which accepts the 23 budget along with ordinance 2232, which is a budget annual appropriations. Also presents future plans, also report on finances and activities and inventory of properties. And all these things are listed basically as requirements in the city charter as listed there. The 23 budget and a 5-year capital plan, as well as many other things, items here, achievements, will be listed on our website, providing line-by-line budget details as those that came or saw the draft budget that was basically the same thing, had the same line item by line item details in it. The 23 budget process has been ongoing since July, basically. And we also, this budget does meet the minimum reserve balance of 20% for all operating funds, building goals and objectives to meet the City Council's strategic priorities, which we'll talk about that. And the public budget work sessions were conducted on November 16th and 21st. So getting into the executive summary here first. This is a high-level summary of expenditures and revenues in millions there. Purpose of this chart, because we'll go through some of the highlights, but the purpose of this chart basically is to show you the percentage of fund balance that we did maintain at 20%. Sometimes it goes above the 20% because we're waiting, there's a multi-year projects that you have to reserve back funding for at times. The ones with the zero are capital or enterprise funds that are not operating funds, so they do not have to meet the 20%. But again, we'll go into detail here. All right, so our revenue category. The previous chart there, or the chart you're looking at here, actually illustrates the city's reliance on property taxes, grants to generate revenue necessary to maintain operations and fund capital improvements. So property taxes account for $25.7 million or 55.7% of the 23 revenue. This is increased significantly or partially because of the passage of the 2.15 street mill levy that the residents just passed. But the other voted levies remain relatively the same from year to year. The second revenue, as you might see, is intergovernmental revenue. It's at $6 million or 13% of the 23 budget. And this contains things like the gas tax, fuel tax, motor vehicle licenses, local government fund, hotel motel taxes, and those type of items. Grant revenue is our third largest, comprising of $4.1 million or 8.9% of the budget. And this includes a $3.9 million part of it. Is the largest part is a grant from Ohio ODOT, Department of Transportation, for 3 major street infrastructure projects. And we are always going after those grants, as this shows. All right, expenditures by function here, $51.4 million, excluding the interfund transactions. Let me explain. Total budget expenditures for 2023 is $51.4 million, approximately $4.8 million, or 10% increase over 22. Well, 2 reasons. This budget is the largest in city's history. But the large increase is due to $3.5 million in street levy that we just passed, and the $4.1 million in ARPA funds that is just going to be part of the ARPA fund projects that we're doing next year in 2023. So that together, $3.5 million plus the 4, there's over $7 million in additional funds, and the 4.1, of course, ARPA funds is once those are spent, they're gone. Street maintenance and capital, let's talk about this, now represents the largest expenditure in the budget at $22.4 million or 43.6%. So you're getting close to half of our total city budget is in street maintenance and capital. This was, again, a result of the levy passage and several major infrastructure projects with significant portion of the funding from grants. Public safety represents the second largest portion, 12 million or 23.3% of the 23 budget. And special revenue fiduciary funds make up 6.19 million or 12%, which a big chunk of that is the 4.1 million budgeted for the ARPA funds for the stormwater projects that's going to happen next year. All right, moving on to budget expenditures by category. Now, normally here is where we say wages and benefits are the largest part. We are a service industry providing service to our residents, but this is not the case any longer. Wages and benefits are no longer the largest, but it is the second largest at just over 18 million or 35%. It's a 700,000 increase over last year's budget, but this results in us budgeting 5 additional employees in public services. If you remember, that street levy stated that we would do. And the passage with that, also along with the cost of living wage and insurance increases as well. So those account for those changes. For 2023, the largest component of the budget by category is capital, which represents approximately 19.09 million or 37.1% of the budget. It's a $3.7 million increase, but this is a direct result of the street levy passage, which emphasis placed on maintenance and infrastructure projects related to streets. It also includes a dedicated capital improvements part of the capital improvement plan. So contractual is the third largest category, representing 7.7 million or 15% of the budget. And some of the larger items there, that includes your street resurfacing and curb repair, interfund charges and indirect costs, and other professional services, including like legal fees, prosecution, services, liability, property insurance, Greene County Combined Health Services, animal control, audit costs, recreational programs, the In Touch, and so on. Moving to some budget highlights. Maybe. All right, so the budget here, it's in a new format. This is new to us, to ensure the city is dedicating valuable resources to the vision and strategic priorities established by City Council. So each department tied their goals and objectives to furthering these established priorities, which we'll touch on. A total of $9.5 million in street improvements projects are included in the street capital improvements budgets. Of this, $3.9 million or 41% is funding utilizing federal and state grants. Again, we're awesome with grants. Projects include Grange Hall Road widening, $4.3 million. North Fairfield Road resurfacing, $1.7 million. North Fairfield Road widening, $725,000. And Grange Hall resurfacing, $650,000, and many other smaller projects. I will say that we hope that these, with inflationary values, that these will survive through actually being able to bid them out and getting competitive bidding within our budgets. We hope that these are that way. Last year caught us off guard with the sudden, large, fast increase of inflation. The budget includes 5 additional full-time workers, as I've stated, in Public Service Department as a result of the passage of the street levy. And additional funds, $1 million, has been directed to maintenance, facility improvements, and capital infrastructure. And this includes $2.9 million for thoroughfare and residential street resurfacing. A couple other highlights we have. The city's budgeted approximately $2.3 million for repairs and upgrades for various city facilities. You're talking about $1.8 million for construction of a newly designed salt barn to increase efficiency and effectiveness of the facility, much needed. Necessary maintenance of the golf course, clubhouse, and some safety and security and ADA improvements of various facilities. Vehicle and equipment replacement program is budgeted at $1.4 million. And we continue the efforts to essential maintenance and capital repairs throughout the city parks. This includes roof repairs at Worthington Park, which we did get half a grant, and we're working on getting the other half of the grant to pay for the cabins to get re-roofed. HVAC upgrades at the Senior Center and CI Beaver Hall, and a new parking lot at our new 148-acre park. and constructing new nature trails and walkways at various parks. Utilizing ARPA funds to complete 2 major residential stormwater projects slated for approximately about $4.1 million. That's going to be exciting as well. So we got the 5-year capital plan, which was presented at the budget hearings. It also will be in line. Much of the projects I mentioned are in this, but of course this goes on to 2027 along with those categories, and I won't go into detail with that. This is a list as required to have properties that the city owns. The only thing that's been added are the parks, the new park system. There are 2 other ones, if you notice, sorry it's so small, but in the other category there are 2 that's listed as pending. Those are 3 parcels that are pending December 21st, us closing on those parcels. So I went ahead and disclosed that we're planning on 2 of those parcels, of course, are our stormwater project that we will be doing next year as well. All right, so accomplishments. I wanted to start with the budget and then wake you up with some accomplishments. And so we're going to go ahead and have this video. I would like to think ahead. Well, if it doesn't work, then I'll blame her. But if it works, so we'll give her a big congratulations. No, this is awesome. Katie and I, she's done a great job on this, and I've kept it a secret. So even staff have not seen this video. So much to be proud of this year. So we will let you watch this video and make sure I got the volume up before I start it. Yep. All right, it might be loud up there for you guys, but enjoy here. I hope you enjoyed that. Congratulations, Katie. I came to her with the idea before even council wanted to shorten the presentation to do that. So I had that idea in mind, and we were already rolling on it. But I think next year she'll be even more prepared with videos and pictures of things to start collecting on as we achieve them. So our vision as City Council had adopted and came up with at the July meeting was the City of Beavercreek as a safe, vibrant community dedicated to serving the needs of residents and embracing the opportunities of tomorrow. And like we said, that happened at the July 22nd meeting, held our annual City Council strategy session, and we had a facilitator that day, which helped us tremendously. From the strategy session, the City Council developed 5 strategic priorities. And during the 23 budget process, as I've said, those goals and objectives were developed based on those strategic priorities. And just quickly, we'll go through the 5 priorities, City Council priorities. Diversified and sustainable revenue, to continue to develop priorities to provide long-term operational stability and sustainability. Engaged and informed community. Beavercreek's vision can only be achieved when the entire community is engaged, well-informed, and proud to call Beavercreek home. Planned infrastructure. The city has transitioned from being a growing community to one more focused on maintaining and sustaining its existing infrastructure. And the last 2, right-sized workforce. The city workforce should be the right size to meet the demands of today and prepared for the future. And of course, family-friendly parks. Parks are a cornerstone of Beavercreek community and a source of community pride and an economic driver. Final thoughts for 2023. Secure funding for police department. I'm just going right along. These are my final thoughts here, but we will need to do something. Next, new parkland. We're going to complete a master plan here by May. We should be done, or June. But we have to determine the next steps for funding the master plan. And infrastructure projects, we're utilizing the ARPA funds to complete major stormwater projects, specifically 2 of them. This is a picture of Willow Crest, what happens when it drizzles. No, I'm kidding, but it doesn't take much to get that there. Yeah, amen. Anyway, the part of that, though, the ARPA funds are temporary, and of course, one time they're gone, and we're utilizing those towards the infrastructure. But to address unfunded backlog of infrastructure, how do we do that still is a question. And the final documents are all on the website. This presentation will be there, the accomplishments video, and a detailed list. That video did not include all the accomplishments, just some highlights. The budget and the goals and objectives are in the budget that support the strategic initiatives that council has, and the 5-year capital plan will also be there. Thank you to residents and council and citizens and staff. Appreciate all the hard work and input council definitely does to guide staff, all the hard work that they've done. And the residents have been very helpful this year in feedback and input and helping guide as well. So unless there's any questions, that's all I have for tonight.